Hey guys, welcome back, and today we're talking about the GAN v100. So this is the newest release from GAN. This cube comes in at $40 and it's pretty hyped up. So let's crack this box open and talk about what the hype is about. So you open up the box here, you get the cube. It comes in this like opaque box, which is interesting, a little bit different than normal. Then we have the accessories kit, and when we open this, we have, I can't remember if there was a bag, to be honest. Probably not. It's on the lower end. We have the adjustment tool and the center cap removal tool, which is, I think, pretty much identical to the 16. So nothing special there, since it does use the same adjustment system. And then we have, if I can get this out, a regular GAN center cap, because this was one of the first ones, one of the first batch. I have a special center cap on the puzzle, but if you get it after that batch is gone, you will just get the regular cap on the cube. Let's crack this open. We have the puzzle. Now, I've had this puzzle for a little while. I wanted to do some solves on it, set it up, see what I thought about it before I did a more in-depth review of it. So let's just do some turns so you guys get an idea for how it turns. Oops. Yeah, so it's pretty fast, but not uncontrollable. Now, this cube out of the box, rather loose, kind of fast. I had to slow it down, so I popped some FC honey on the tracks and then used Dignitas and Gravitas on the pieces, and it comes out for a really nice, rather stable feeling. Now, if we take the center cap remover, which I have to pull back out, we can take a look at the adjustment system. It should be essentially the exact same as the GAN 16. Here we go. As you can see, pretty similar system. It has these nice black letters. They're really hard to see on the camera, but I like them a lot. I like the black lettering. It's got black internals, which is really cool as well. So yeah, basic system there. And it feels, however, I will say it does feel a little crunchy. It does feel a little crunchy. But with the settings that I have it on, which I just put the cap back on, I was going to tell you the settings that I had it on, like a silly goose. I did not. I have it on, let's see, I have it on 11 and 2. So rather tighter cube, less flexibility, but it works pretty good. It feels very solid. I gotta root you guys, other than the GAN 12, this is one of the first GAN cubes that I've really loved, because for me personally, I tend to be a Moyu guy. I may have just fallen in love with the GAN cube, and that's my surface level assessment of it. So yeah, this cube has so much potential to be such a good cube. And the crazy thing is it's $40, which for a GAN cube is a really good price. To give you some more stats on this puzzle comes in at 64 grams, so it's pretty light. Again, black internals, which does make it look and feel cooler. And it's got 76 magnets with a maglev tension system. So yeah, it's a pretty solid cube. It's got all of the basic high-end things that you want. It's UV coated, and it's pretty good for $40, compared to GAN prices, because like the Weilong V11 is also like $40, and that's a really good cube too. But that being said, I would like to compare it to the GAN 16, which is the other most recent flagship release from GAN, and I also would like to compare it to the V11, because the V11 is the same price, well, a similar price point depending on which version you get. But first, we're going to compare it to the GAN 16. So we're going to pop out, actually first what I'd like to do, I keep putting this thing away, I should just leave it out. I need to pull out the adjustment tool and the center cap opener again, because what I'd like to do is I would like to take a look and really decide, is the adjustment system the same? Yep, it's in fact the same. Interesting enough though, my settings on the 16 are different. On the 16 I use 12 and 4, where on here I use 11 and 2. So interesting there. But yes, they have the same adjustment tool. Now what I'd like to do is I'd like to try to get a piece out of each of these without getting lube all over the place, if I can. All right, so we have a 16 piece out. Now let's get a V100 piece out if we can. These cubes are tight, so it's hard. There we go. Okay, as you can see, there's a lube like all over this cube. You can see it a lot more when you have a black internals, because I use Dignitas and Gravitas, so it's like it mixes like white sludge looking stuff. It's so good though. And then here you can see I got some DNM on there. So this cube is similar, as in, if you can see, it's hard to see in the primary in the camera here, but the edge is quite similar except at the bottom. At the bottom here on the 16 we have a closed torpedo and we have the magnet there, where on the V100 we have a open torpedo, which does decrease the weight a little bit, but also doesn't have that magnet there. But then if you look at the rest of the edge piece, it's pretty much the exact same. There's a small difference at the bottom where the ridge is, but other than that, it's pretty much the same piece. All right, now let's take a look at the corner pieces. So let me pop a corner out of each of these. Okay, now we got the corner piece out. You can actually see on the 16th, the magnet placement is slightly different on there. And other than that, it's got the same dragon scale pattern. We have an exposed magnet on the V100. And if you look at the corner stock, they're pretty much the same. So what I think is, I think the V100, although it's slightly different, I think that it's meant to be maybe a scaled down version of the GAN 16. So it's not, the technology inside the V100 is not like as high tier as the 16, but it is relatively similar. You know, we have the same adjustment system. The pieces have a very similar look. Magnet placement slightly different. So I think it's fair to say that the V100 is a really toned down version of the 16. It has a similar crunchy feeling to it. This puzzle, the 16, does feel a little bit more premium though, if you ask me, than the V100 does. This is a little less crunchy as well. So there are some differences, but for the most part, the piece shape and the structure is relatively the same. You have a bit of a different magnet layout and you have less magnets. Other than that, not too big of a difference. Now we're going to compare this to the Weilong V11, which is the other big cube in the same price range as this. Psst, you should subscribe. Oh shoot, he's coming back. Okay, so I have a 20 magnet ball core version here. This is just the closest V11 of like the 4 that I had. Also worth noting, this is not a ball core. There's not a ball core in the GAN V100. But let's take a piece out of the V11 and let's compare these as well. If I can pick this up without getting all the lube all over my hands. I don't want to have my hands full of honey and angstrom. Okay, so if we take a look at the piece shape here, they have a similar shape, but they're fundamentally very different. Whereas this one has like wings that come out a little further. It doesn't have ridges in it. And it has a wider base for the torpedo with a magnet in the middle. However, they both share like an open base to the torpedo, which probably does make the cube a bit lighter. And you can see like the edge structure here, quite different, ridge-wise, thickness-wise. So pretty different edge pieces. Magnet strength, I would say, is similar, and placement is also similar. Worth noting, because this is a 20 magnet ball core, that is why there is a magnet in the edge. Now let's get a corner back out of the V100. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at the corner pieces. And as you can see, the corner pieces are very, very, very similar in regards to shape. Except the dragon scale on the GAN is bigger. That's what we're calling it. And the corner holes are larger. And I think the stock at the end has a slightly different shape, but very similar concept. And the GAN magnet sticks out a lot further, whereas it does not on the V11. The V11, the magnet is pretty snug in there, pretty low in there. So those are some differences. Other than that, very similar. Now, I know y'all are probably wondering, how does it perform compared to the V11? Well, short story, I have switched to the GAN v100. I have switched to the GAN v100. That's a short story. But let's take a comparison of like corner cutting and stuff, and we will kind of get a feel for it. So this cube is lighter, I think. No, there, I'd say this might actually be a little heavier, honestly. It feels airier, but I think it's on the heavier side between the two. I could look up some info to confirm that, but I'm not going to because I don't really care. It feels airier. Corner cutting on the V11, pretty good. And then we got the V100. It doesn't feel as airy. It feels a little crunchier, but turn speed and the way that it feels, I'd say is similar. Like it feels, it's nice and smooth, fast. It's just a little crunchier. At least it sounds crunchier. Corner cutting, pretty comparable. So yeah, I would say these puzzles are pretty much in a similar, if not the same spot on performance. They both have different feels, but they both provide great corner cutting, great turning speed if you want it, but you can also make it controllable if you don't want great TPS. Premium grip with the UV coating, which is nice, and I think the difference really here for you to decide is GAN versus MoU, because this puzzle is good and it's for a very comparable price. So that being said, you know, we're looking at probably the two best mid-range cubes of the year right here. I think that they would tie, but this video is about the V100, so I don't know why we're still talking about the MoU cube. GAN, I think your V100 is better than the 16, and the 16 costs double the price. That's that. I think, and what I like about the V100 over the GAN 16 too, on top of just like the fact that I think it performs better, is that I think the V100, it's simpler. There's less combinations. There's less everything. Like, you know, we don't have 800 different magnet rods. We have a very similar adjustment system otherwise, and neither have adjustable magnets. So like this is slightly more complex than this. And I think that when it gets complex, you're giving people a lot of choices, and like setting up cubes becomes hard. Setting this up is so easy. It performs well. It comes at a really good price point at $39.99 in the cubicle, which, by the way, when you go pick one of these up, because I think that you should use code FATROCK at checkout for a little discount, and it really helps me out, and it'll save you a couple dollars, especially with the holiday season coming, and you're getting this for your cuber or for yourself or whatever. We want to save as much as we can. Yeah, I think GAN dropped a really, really good puzzle. Everything feels really good about this cube, and it's crazy for me to sit here and say, oh, this GAN 3x3 is really good, because I've been so critical of GAN 3x3s in the past, mostly about price, but we're coming in with this cube that's at a really good price, really good performance, and I'd say its performance to value, or like performance to cost, it's really high. And so it's pretty good. That being said, I do want to put a little disclaimer in there though, that it is really fast, right? So like, if you need to slow it down, I'm really going to recommend that you pick up some FC Honey if you don't have some. You really don't need a lot, just a little dibble on the tracks, on the internals there, of the edge pieces in the corners, and you're going to be really happy. You do not, I use literally the smallest dibble, just put it on one piece, put it back together, mixed it in. The amount of controllability it adds to this puzzle is phenomenal. I highly recommend it. I also do that in my GAN 16, and I really enjoy the feel of the honey on the GAN cubes. I think that is a big thing that has helped turn me on to this puzzle, because initially out of the box, I was like, this is too fast. It feels like a typical GAN cube. I set it up differently. I tried the honey in it. It's phenomenal. So yeah, I really recommend that you pick up some honey also if you don't have any. It's going to make your experience with this cube better, in my opinion, and hopefully I'm not steering you wrong. So yeah, that's my recommendation if you're going to get this, which again, I think if you're interested in GAN cubes, or if you want something comparable to the V11 without so many options, and you can just pick one cube, you can grab this one. Of course, if you have the V11, you might not need this, but it's definitely worth a try. Anyways, I'm blabbering on now about nonsense, so I'm just gonna say goodbye, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.